Hey, it's Kenneth Owens. This is my public digital humanities project. What I'm going to do today is go over some events leading up to the Constitution of 1793. This is for a college class called ITDS 1774 with Professor Banks. So the first thing I want you to look at here is the Constitution itself. It's a very important document for the French Revolution. So just provide a little context prior to the Constitution. Prior to the French Revolution, French society was based around the remains of feudalism, recognized as a state system. States were determined based off your worth, class within society. Most remained within the same class unless they moved up, which normally was a lengthy process. Oftentimes it took many generations. The first estate was made up the clergy, the second estate was nobility, and lastly the third estate was peasants, battered out poor people. Despite their size, they had no power. The other groups had not only power, but key positions which allowed them to maintain leverage and control, such as in the church, military, and other places. This period prior to the French Revolution was called the Ancien regime. So what I'm going to do here is go into providing a couple of key moments during the French Revolution that lead all the way up until the Constitution itself. So, call the States Generals. King Louis called upon the States Generals. This usually doesn't happen very often. All three classes were brought together to propose solutions to fix France's financial problems. And so, this actually doesn't happen hardly ever. And they were in a considerable amount of debt and needed to quickly find a solution. The tennis court, though, the National Assembly formed after the third state was kicked out. They were kicked out as the majority, and as the majority, they didn't want them to have the vote, and they refused to leave the tennis court unless there was a written constitution formed. Storming a Bastille, angry revolutionaries stormed the Bastille. They made a political statement in storming, but also gathered things such as weapons and gunpowder. Now, this is going to be pretty beneficial later on. Declarations of Rights of the Man. Equal under law, the rights of man declares that all men are equal under the law. However, there were no rights for women or children. Many women at the time were upset about this and even wrote articles. If you have time, you can look into that. March on Versailles. Parson women, market women, led a march on Versailles. It was of the high price of bread and how scarce it was to find. So prices were inflated, and not only were they inflated, but there was a limited supply. Civil Constitution of the Clergy. Civil Constitution of the Clergy is now the French government admit that they had control of the church. Because of this, because of their debts, they started selling off land. They had accumulated a ton of land, whether it had been through taking it or buying it, and now they were forced to sell it as a result of this debt. The royal family attempted to flee. King Louis and his family tried to get away from France with everything going on, but are ultimately caught in Versailles. After capture, he is sent back to Paris for trial. Things get ugly after this. Execution of the king. After being put on trial in Paris, the king receives a sentence of death. He is executed by guillotine on January 21st, 1793. There's a couple other things that happen between here and the Constitution, but I don't want to overwhelm you with information, so I went straight into the Constitution of 1793. The Constitution of 1793 was all about giving rights back to the people. For far too long they were oppressed, and that's really what the French Revolution was all about. It was about they were tired of being oppressed, they were tired of being treated less than equal, and being controlled by people that didn't care about them. And so this was really a sense of freedom for them. And that is a summarization of all the events that led up to the Constitution of 1793. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to message me here on YouTube.